What's up everybody, welcome back to a brand new video on Lex Alexis. Today we're going to do more score predictions for week 38. We only have 10 games to predict this weekend actually, because we are seeing two championship clubs in action this weekend in the FA Cup quarter-final. Good luck of course to Coventry, maybe not as good luck to Leicester since they have to try and get past my team Chelsea, but in the greatest respect I really do hope they get some good out of those two games. But we're here today to predict the 10 championship games that are taking place. And after this game week, we're going to get an international break. So this is going to be a good stopping point of the season to kind of reassess how things are going to be looking in the final stretch of championship games. If you guys like what you see, please smash the like button. It really does help the growth of this channel. Please do hit the subscribe button if you've not done so either. It'd be amazing to see this channel grow even more. And please share the channel too. All these things are free to do and they really help. But without any further ado, let's start predicting this weekend's games in the Championship. So let's start off with the South Wales derby. Swansea, Cardiff. Now, Cardiff, of course, got the win in the reverse fixture. And I don't think Cardiff have ever got the double over Swansea. But based on forms, you'd be really backing Cardiff to do it because they've won 4 games in a row. That included a late drama in their home game against Ipswich Town, but fair play to them. They're only the 5th side to beat Ipswich in the Championship this season, and they stuck with it. They actually did quite well in that first half, I felt, Cardiff. In the second half, I felt they kind of allowed Ipswich to frustrate them. They did allow Kiefer Moore to score against, obviously, the club he formerly played for, but fair play to them. When they fell behind in around the 79th, 80th minute, they sensed that Ipswich were nervous and they really attacked it, and they deserved all 3 points in the end with the way that they went forward from that. So with Swansea, they actually lost their last game. It was against Bristol City. It was one of the later games. It was a very what's the right word for that game? It wasn't really eventful because I remember looking at it when I was doing my live stream for Huddersfield and West Brom. Not much happened, but there was that one goal that randomly appeared. And it was where Bristol City didn't really create all that much. So Swansea, again, looking like that they're holding a lot of the ball, but they weren't able to take their chances. Maybe we could see a similar situation here. But personally, I think with this being a derby, I think it's going to be very difficult to see a side go victorious here. As a prediction, I'm actually going to predict a 1-1 draw. I have a feeling that both sides will cancel each other out and both will have their moments of quality. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Birmingham versus Watford. So I think this is actually quite an intriguing game, I gotta say. Birmingham, of course, they played in midweek against Middlesbrough and they are in trouble. They are only 1 point clear of Huddersfield and Sheffield Wednesday, who are currently sitting the top 2 places in the bottom 3. Watford themselves, they dismissed Valerian Ismail after their season has really taken a turn for the worse. Their form has been very catastrophic. They sit 14th place in the table. Tom Cleverley is temporarily the interim coach, so this will be his first game in charge as a manager. To say that Tom Cleverley is now a manager is scary to me, to be quite honest, but you could sense that maybe there'll be a managerial bounce for Watford. So I think it's very poor timing for Birmingham's part, where they really need the points more than ever, and St Andrews really needs to be a fortress from this moment on in the season. As a prediction, gosh, this is so tough to predict, honestly. I'm going to go for a very unhelpful 1-1 draw for both of these sides. I think both sides will be wanting to win, but definitely more so with Birmingham based on their position on the table. So I think it's going to end as a draw. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Ipswich versus Sheffield Wednesday. I had the privilege of seeing this game in League One last year, and it was the best game I watched Ipswich play in their League One games last season. And if anything, I think this game is going to deliver as well, because honestly, Ipswich at this moment need to have a response. The pressure is really on them because Leeds have now overtaken them again in the table, only leading by 1 point, but now that they play before Leeds have to play Millwall the day after they play that game, Ipswich need to re-invite some of that pressure to Leeds. But the big opportunity here is for the fact that Leicester don't play this weekend. If Ipswich can close the gap to Leicester by 1 point, psychologically that could really put Leicester under a lot of pressure. And realistically, I see Ipswich more realistically catching Leicester right now than I do with Leeds, with Leicester kind of slipping away with their form quite recently. So with Sheffield Wednesday, they had an amazing run that was ended against Leeds United, actually. So they played against Leeds in their last game, and it did end a pretty comfortable win for Leeds in the end. Unfortunately, Sheffield Wednesday didn't really offer too much, I felt. And I think here it's going to be another tough one, but I do sense Ipswich's vulnerability at the back potentially being an area that Sheffield Wednesday could exploit. A prediction, honestly, a draw wouldn't surprise me, but I'm actually going to go for an Ipswich win, just about. I'm going to say 2-1 Ipswich. I think it's going to be very, very nervy, like it typically is being an Ipswich Town supporter, but I think Ipswich will get the job done, just about. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Middlesbrough versus Blackburn. So this could arguably be seen as a mid-table battle, but actually, considering how close that middle part of the table is, it just goes to show you how a couple of games, things can change so quickly. Middlesbrough, with having 3 wins in a row now, they are now looking like a team that are going on a late charge to try and get into the top 6. They're on 53 points, they're only 5 points off. We've seen Middlesbrough do it before, where they've had to try and catch up with a load of points to get into the top 6. I could really see Middlesbrough, if they can really carry this form on for a couple more games, they could really land themselves in a really big position here. Blackburn, they've got a really, really tough predicament. They got a really important draw, I felt, in their last couple of games. Maybe a bit of an unhelpful one against Plymouth where they're at home. Maybe they would have wanted 3 points from that. But the fact that they're not losing many games, they're just about edging and creeping past the bottom 3 ever so slowly, due to the fact that teams down there had actually lost a couple of games in the last couple of weeks or so. As a prediction here, I think it's going to be a very unhelpful result for Blackburn, and I don't see Middlesbrough slowing down. I think they're going to carry on with their form. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-0 victory. It was a really good performance, I felt, against Birmingham, and I think they'll carry that on here. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Plymouth versus Preston. Plymouth, again, not safe at the moment, and I do think Plymouth would have felt a little bit more happier with the draw, considering they fell behind against Blackburn, but I think definitely they had the chances and the quality to try and pick up 3 points overall. So going into this game, they're facing a Preston side where Preston, their performance did ever so slightly. They did lose their last game out, of course. And against Stoke City, actually, it was a really big result for Stoke, but it would have been a really bad result for Plymouth, considering that Stoke are one of the teams trying to catch up with Plymouth at the moment. So I do think Plymouth maybe should look at that and think, right, if Stoke can get something, we need to get something. And I do see this being a close game, As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I think Preston's form is ever so slightly being a little bit more inconsistent now. And personally, I think Plymouth, I've got a lot more to play for, considering they've got survival in mind. So I'm going to go for a draw. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Rotherham versus Huddersfield. So I know Rotherham are in their terrible run of form at the moment, but one thing I did notice, Rotherham have only had 1 home game in their last 5 games. So the fixtures, I don't think have been particularly generous with Rotherham. So I'll give them that in their home games at least, they make things competitive. And actually the 1 home game they did have was against Sheffield Wednesday when they narrowly lost out by 1-0. I mean, I think it's too late for Rotherham personally. But Huddersfield, it is certainly not too late for them, but this is one for very few times. So they've actually fallen into the bottom 3 now. So they really, really need a result. I watched them against West Brom, of course, in my last live stream, and I was so impressed in their first half performance. But I was also equally surprised how much they dipped in the second half. But if they can play like they did in the opening 45 against West Brom against Rotherham, then I think Huddersfield will get a result. But Rotherham, I think, will make it very, very uncomfortable. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-1 away victory to Huddersfield. I don't think it's going to be one-sided at all. I actually think it's going to be very tight, but I see Huddersfield getting the job done. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Stoke versus Norwich. So Stoke, with the fact they picked up 2 wins in 3, they are now looking a lot more likely that they can survive. Now, it's not confirmed yet. They're only 3 points clear of Huddersfield and Sheffield Wednesday, of course. But those 2 wins, without a doubt, have really, really helped their case. Brilliant results in both of those games as well. Picking up that win against Preston as well, considering they were leading and then they equalised, but then they led again. Great mindset and mentality from this Stoke City side to pick up 3 points in the end. They are really playing with their survival instincts in the moment, and they're definitely getting rewarded for it. Norwich, they are still within the top 6, and they are undoubtedly scoring so many goals for fun. I mean, they scored 5 goals against Rotherham like it was nothing. I think this game, though, is going to be very tricky. Stoke still have, survival in mind, and I think for Stoke, they can maybe pick 2 more wins, I think. That might be the amount that you might need to survive. I'm seeing the high 40s being enough to survive this year. And honestly, I think with Norwich's away form being quite inconsistent, I think Stoke could get something here. As a prediction, I'm actually going to go for a 1-1 draw. So I'm predicting a lot of draws this weekend, I'm noticing. But it's so tight and competitive this year that I'm really finding it difficult to edge either one of these sides. They have really little margins, and it could be something that happens in the game. For Norwich, for instance, recently, the red card for Borja Sainz really was the reason I felt when they were looking comfortable against Middlesbrough and then losing it outright by 3-1. You sometimes can't predict these in-game moments. So naturally, I'm just having to go to see if the perfect game will be played and what I think things will happen. So I'll stick with a draw, but honestly, I can see either one of these sides picking up 3. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Sunderland versus QPR. I mean, likewise with Rotherham, they are going on a really big losing streak at this moment. And they're going to be wanting to do what Bristol City did last week, where they had a losing streak, but then they ended it with a win. Sunderland would really, really want that at the moment, but I really don't see it at the moment. They've not got someone in, and they've not confirmed a position as of yet. I think they have written this season off now, unfortunately, which I think is a real shame. Just some poor decisions along the way, some relationships that have definitely, been pretty out there for the wrong reasons, I find. And Sunderland are just going to have to just try and go for that same momentum again, like they did last season for next season, and it is a bit of a shame. With QPR, they have definitely given themselves a fighting chance, although they did lose last weekend. I do think, whilst their form has been really, really good, I think we were going to see a result like this happen. And at this moment of time, they're not, in the bottom 3 still. They're on 39 points, but only 1 point clear, which is telling you how competitive this bottom 6 of the table is. It really is insane. And we could almost see an entirely different bottom 3 from this game week. This relegation picture has been insane this year. And I do think QPR are going to make it very interesting. As a prediction, I think they might squeak a win. I think Sunderland at this moment, they can't buy a win. And QPR, they have every reason to try and win to survive. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 away victory to QPR. I can see them getting 3 points here. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is West Brom versus Bristol City. I mean, the performance from West Brom when I watched it, game of 2 halves, didn't have a single shot in that first half against Huddersfield. They were all over the place, and they really struggled with Huddersfield's press. Whatever Corberan said during half-time, it worked. And Mickey Johnson, by the way, what a player and what a signing he's turned out to be for West Brom at the moment. Now, on 63 points, 5 points clear from the chasing pack in Norwich, Hull, and of course 6 ahead Coventry in that case. I think West Brom, if they could just get maybe 2 to 3 more wins, I could honestly see that being around the ballpark of what West Brom are going to require. I think you are going to need to hit around that 70-point region. But then again, you need to see how Coventry and maybe throw Middlesbrough into it now to stay consistent, and Norwich, of course, as well, who occupy that 6th place. So I do think it's going to be a dogfight, but I do think West Brom by far have got the upper hand. And I think even if they lose a couple of games, and then last 9 games, I think they still could qualify for top 6 quite comfortably. Bristol City, they had a really poor run of form, but then they ended it with a good win in the end against Swansea City. Performance-wise, probably didn't earn it per se, but they did well to actually get the goal for when they eventually earned for it, and then they defended really, really well as well. So it's a results-based business, and Bristol City got the right result with the performance that didn't show for it. So we'll see if they could do something there. They can be a team that could really cause West Brom difficulties. As a prediction, I'm going to go 2-1 West Brom. I've got a little bit more confidence in them to get the job done. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. So the final game to predict is Leeds versus Millwall. This is its own individual game taking place on the Sunday. A lot's going to happen on that Ipswich Sheffield Wednesday game. If Ipswich lose, it's a humongous opportunity for Leeds to try and get something from that. And actually, if they win quite substantially as well, if I've done the maths correctly, they can overtake Leicester if they beat Millwall by a 2-goal advantage, which is very, very exciting to me, seeing Leicester dethroned from the Championship, which is telling me that the top 4 in itself is just so competitive this year. And I'm just enthralled, honestly, of this whole entire season. And Leeds really need to take that opportunity. But they're facing Millwall, currently undefeated with Neil Harris coming in, 3 wins out of 4. It's not going to be easy. But what I do think is going to happen, I think Leeds are going to score very, very early. If Leeds score early, I think Leeds will hit 2, maybe even 3, because they've got the capability of just killing teams off. If it stays 0-0 for a long, elongated period, I think it'll be more likely that Millwall can nick something. So it really depends how the game flows and starts. I predict, however, Leeds will score quickly. And as a prediction, therefore, I actually think it's going to be a 3-0 victory to Leeds. A very unlike Millwall result, comparing to how they played quite recently. But this is Leeds United we're talking about. I really think they are the real deal now. They are playing like they desperately want to get into the Premier League. And I could see them win the Championship. You've heard it here first. I think with Leicester constantly or consistently now slipping results and Leeds looking like they're not really going to draw up any points, why not? Let's go for Leeds and maybe a more unpopular opinion to win the Championship. So guys, these are my predictions for this weekend. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comments down below. And also make sure you guys predict as well in the comments down below as well, because you guys will get your points entered in the Let's Football Prediction League. I've managed to do a couple of the game weeks I've missed, but I'm still in the process of catching up. But I promise you guys, I will catch up. And the fact there's an international break coming up, that gives me the perfect opportunity to try and really use the days to catch up. But I am getting there, so I'm not too far behind now, but I still need a little bit of time. So that'll wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, please smash the like button. It really does help. Please hit the subscribe button too. It really helps. And please share as well. All 3 of these things are free to do, and they really help. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video. And as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.